name is Mark Storr, Tech Service Rep for BSF in Iowa here. And I want to talk a little bit about corn foliar fungicides, and specifically about Veltima fungicide. So I'm here at one of our plots at our research farm. And a lot of questions that we get has to do with timing. When should I make my fungicide application? And maybe you've seen some of the published materials talking about 5 feet ready to treat. That's one of our slogans that we've been promoting for early applications on corn. Or maybe some folks talking about first tassel, no hassle. And really wanted to kind of explain what we're talking about with that and talking about corn development. But behind me, I think you can see traditional tasseled corn field. So this right now is what we call VT stage, where we see mature tassels or nearly mature. By this I'm talking about the tassels are branched. They're not spiked up as they would have been earlier in the year. There's usually some presence of silks on the field and maybe a little pollen shed, but we're probably still a day or two ahead of that in this particular field. But you see silks on these ears, so they're going to be receptive when the pollen arrives, and then it will move into R1. So our traditional timing is right here, starting at VT up to the early milk stage, which would be reproductive stage 3 or R3. The nice part about Veltima fungicide is it has this extremely long residual activity. And so by that, with the early application, making applications that are 5 feet, and I'm drawing a shoulder height on me because that's roughly a 5 foot tall corn plant, which we're well past that stage now. But that really marries itself well to ground rigs. You don't need a high boy sprayer, you don't need an airplane to spray it. And we have a lot of specific locations where folks can't maybe get in with an airplane due to their fields being not properly shaped, or near wind farms or highline poles. There's a host of reasons why we can't always get places with airplanes. So that application timing fits nicely. Plus, we do have people that make 2 applications per year, and that is a good time to make that first application at that 5 foot tall corn timing. And then we talk about corn plants that look a little bit like this. So we always get questions about, hey, my corn it's almost there. It's really spiking up on us, but it's not quite tasseled out. So what's your recommendation here? Well, again, I'm going to tell you with the Veltima application, this is that very near that first tassel application timing, and I'm comfortable with making a Veltima application at this stage. Now you can kind of find out what's going on physiologically in the plant by actually counting the leaves that are surrounding the tassel. So we have 1 there, 2 here, and this is our 3rd. So we're really only 3 leaves away from unfurling, exposing this tassel. And we know it takes about 2.5 to 3 days typically, or somewhere between 2 and 3 days, for each of those leaves to unfurl, to expose that tassel. So theoretically, somewhere, let's say maximum of 9 to 10 days is when this plant is going to look like this plant and be at that VT stage. So again, perfectly comfortable making an application on that corn at this point in time. And then we see a lot of corn like this, where we don't have that mature tassel, but the tassel's poking through. It's starting to unbranch or unfold those branches. And again, perfect time for your Veltima application. So the only thing I add to this is those early 5 foot tall applications are really anytime you're applying foliar fungicides to corn, from the 8 collar stage, V8, up to prior to tassel. We generally leave out adjuvants. So it would be the Veltima fungicide and water, and leave the additives out. For these stages that I've showed here today, where you're very near tassel, up to that or a mature tassel stage, we go ahead and throw in the additives. Carrier volume by air, typically we put on 2 gallons of water per acre. By ground, we put on 15 gallons per acre to get good coverage. Remind you that 2/3 to 3/4 of the yield on a corn plant comes from this ear leaf and above. So right here in this end row, or edge of the field, we're actually going to see this plant shoot 2 ears here because it's getting an excess of sun. But basically on most plants that shoot a single ear, this will be our ear leaf here, and all this tissue above is where we get our maximum yield. So we want to get good coverage on this part of the plant. The lower leaves down here really don't contribute as much to yield, so if they don't get as good a coverage, we're not that concerned. So there you have it. some tips on applying foliar fungicide. Thanks for watching.